On June 30, 2025, the Maple Leaf Meridian departed Kitimat, British Columbia, marking Canada's first direct LNG shipment to Asia. For decades, Canadian gas was bound for the U.S. This voyage broke that dependency. The ship's journey was more than a trade. It was a declaration of economic independence and a new era for Canadian energy. Billions in investment, collaboration with First Nations, and advanced technology made this possible. As the vessel crossed the Pacific, it carried the hopes of a nation ready to compete globally. Canada was no longer a minor player, but a direct supplier to Asia's energy-hungry economies. The world's energy map had just been redrawn. For over 30 years, nearly all Canadian natural gas exports flowed south to the U.S., creating a deep market dependency. The U.S. was a monopsony buyer, dictating prices and terms. Canadian producers became price takers, vulnerable to U.S. market shifts and shale booms. Building pipelines to the coast was seen as too costly and complex, so the U.S. remained the only outlet. This arrangement seemed stable, but it masked a growing risk over-reliance on a single customer. The industry optimized for north-south trade, ignoring the dangers of putting all its eggs in one basket. Real change required a major shock, one that would soon arrive. The status quo, while profitable, left Canada exposed. The seeds of vulnerability were sown, waiting for a catalyst. That catalyst would come not from the market, but from a political earthquake. The shock came with the Trump administration's America First tariffs, including a 10% levy on Canadian energy. Suddenly, Canadian gas became uncompetitive in its only export market. U.S. buyers turned to domestic supplies and Canadian exports plummeted. The EECO Henry Hub price gap widened, squeezing Canadian producers. Jobs vanished, investment dried up, and the special energy relationship with the U.S. fractured. Diplomatic efforts failed. Canada's dependency had become a liability. Diversification was no longer optional, it was urgent. The crisis galvanized industry and government to pursue new markets. The West Coast and Asia became the new focus. The pain of dependency finally forced Canada to act. Liquefied natural gas, or LNG, is natural gas cooled to minus 162 degrees Celsius, shrinking its volume 600-fold for easy ocean transport. Massive ships carry LNG across the seas, where it's regasified and fed into local pipelines. LNG isn't a new fuel, it's a new way to move gas globally. Asia's demand for LNG is driven by economic growth and the need for cleaner energy. Natural gas is efficient, flexible, and the cleanest burning fossil fuel. Switching from coal to gas cuts emissions and improves air quality. For countries like Japan, South Korea, and China, LNG is a bridge to a lower carbon future. Canada's LNG is poised to meet this surging demand. The LNG Canada project in Kitimat is a $40 billion answer to Canada's market access crisis. Backed by global energy giants and First Nations partnerships, it's a feat of engineering and collaboration. The Coastal GasLink pipeline brings gas from the Montney Formation to the coast. Kitimat's facility features advanced liquefaction trains, massive storage tanks, and a world-class marine terminal. Early, meaningful engagement with First Nations secured social license and shared benefits. The plant uses high-efficiency turbines, making it one of the world's lowest-carbon LNG facilities. Environmental performance is a key selling point for Asian buyers. Kitimat is more than an export terminal. It's a model for responsible, inclusive energy development. Canada's Pacific Gateway is open for business. Canada entered a global LNG market dominated by the U.S. Gulf Coast, where costs are lower and infrastructure mature. But Canada's trump card is geography. Kitimat is just 10 days from Asia, half the shipping time from the Gulf Coast. Shorter routes mean lower costs and faster delivery, an edge for Asian buyers. Canada's supply is integrated, stable, and less volatile than U.S.-associated gas. The project's partners control both production and export, ensuring reliability. Powered partly by hydroelectricity, Canadian LNG boasts a lower carbon footprint. As buyers demand cleaner energy, Canada's environmental edge stands out. Reliability, speed, and sustainability make Canadian LNG a premium product. Canada is now a formidable competitor in the global gas race. Canada's LNG debut coincided with soaring Asian demand. Japan and South Korea, long reliant on LNG, sought stable, cleaner energy sources. China's coal-to-gas switch created a massive new market, with PetroChina securing early Canadian supply. For Canada, Asia offered not just new customers but long-term contracts and economic security. The East-West energy corridor became a reality, shifting Canada's focus from the U.S. to the Pacific. Asian buyers valued Canada's stability, rule of law, and direct Pacific route. Energy security became a key selling point. Canada wasn't just exporting gas, it was forging strategic partnerships. The Pacific market transformed Canada's energy future. LNG Canada's construction sparked an economic boom, creating tens of thousands of jobs and revitalizing northern BC, now operational. The project supports thousands of long-term positions and boosts local businesses. Billions in contracts have gone to Canadian and Indigenous-owned companies. First Nations benefit from revenue sharing, funding community programs and infrastructure. Government coffers swell with new taxes and royalties supporting public services nationwide. LNG exports strengthen Canada's trade balance and currency. The project drives skills development and technological innovation, building a new generation of Canadian energy experts. The benefits extend far beyond gas sales. They're woven into communities and the national economy. Canada's LNG industry is a catalyst for prosperity and progress. The Maple Leaf Meridian's voyage redefined Canada's global energy role, and its relationship with the U.S. America lost its monopoly over Canadian gas, facing a new competitor in Asia. Canadian LNG adds reliable supply to global markets, enhancing energy security and moderating prices. Its low-carbon, stable and direct Pacific route makes it highly attractive. Canada's entry pressures other producers to improve environmental standards. Expansion is possible, but challenges remain: high costs, regulatory hurdles and the need for long-term buyers. Continued First Nations partnership and public support are essential. Canada has seized control of its energy destiny, proving its ability to deliver world-class projects. The future hinges on balancing economic growth with climate commitments. Canada now stands at a vital crossroads on the new global energy map.